As we continued our relationship, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss with Tom's family dynamics. He never delved into specifics, but I could sense an underlying tension whenever the topic of his parents came up. Yet, I trusted Tom implicitly, and his unwavering devotion to me overshadowed any concerns I might have harbored. One day, during a rare moment of downtime, Tom and I decided to grab a cup of coffee together. Little did we know that this seemingly ordinary outing would unveil the true colors of his family's dysfunction. As we sat in the quaint cafe, savoring the warmth of our drinks and the comfort of each other's company, Tom's phone buzzed incessantly. With furrowed brows, he glanced at the screen, his expression morphing from confusion to disbelief. "It's my mom," he muttered, his voice tinged with resignation. "She wants me to come over, urgently." I sensed the apprehension in his voice, the silent plea for understanding. Without hesitation, I offered to accompany him, knowing that whatever awaited us at his parents' home would undoubtedly be challenging. Upon arrival, we were greeted by an atmosphere thick with tension. My stepmother's piercing laughter echoed through the house, juxtaposed with my father's stoic silence. The scene before us was surreal. My stepmother, seemingly amused by her own antics, splashed tea onto my father's meticulously cleaned suit, a gesture met with laughter rather than reprimand from my stepfather. In that moment, I felt a surge of protectiveness towards my father, who stood there, his expression unreadable yet resolute. Without uttering a word, he made his intentions clear: he would not tolerate such disrespect. And just like that, in a voice I had never heard before, my father delivered a decisive ultimatum. He severed ties with the O'Connor household, leaving behind the chaos and dysfunction that had tainted our visit. As we made our exit, Tom's voice resonated with a mixture of regret and determination as he apologized profusely for his parents' behavior. Yet, my father's response was unwavering in its finality. "We were done with them," he declared, his tone grave yet resolute. In the aftermath of that fateful encounter, Tom and I found ourselves navigating uncharted territory. The rift between us and his family cast a shadow over our relationship, yet in its wake emerged a newfound sense of unity and strength. Together, we forged ahead, our bond fortified by adversity and our resolve unwavering in the face of uncertainty. And as we embarked on this new chapter of our lives, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, as a team. I was taken aback by Tom's sudden change in demeanor. His usually composed and gentle demeanor had been replaced by a sense of unease and apprehension. As he sat there, his gaze fixed on some distant point, I couldn't help but feel a surge of worry gnawing at my insides. With a cautious yet determined step, I approached him, my heart pounding in my chest with each passing moment. His reaction to my presence, a startled jump followed by a deep exhale, only served to heighten my concern. "Tom, sorry, did you wait long?" I ventured softly, trying to break through the invisible barrier that seemed to have enveloped him. His response was a mixture of surprise and relief, his wide eyes slowly meeting mine as he shook his head in response to my question. Yet, despite his attempt at reassurance, the heaviness in his expression lingered like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over our conversation. As we settled into our seats, the weight of Tom's silence hung heavily in the air, suffocating any semblance of normalcy. With each passing second, my anxiety intensified, a silent plea echoing in the depths of my mind for him to share whatever burden weighed upon his soul. Summoning every ounce of courage I possessed, I broached the subject that had been haunting me since our last encounter with my father. "Hey, Tom, what's bothering you so much? Is there something wrong about my dad?" I asked, my voice tinged with a mix of concern and trepidation. For a fleeting moment, his gaze flickered upwards, a brief flash of vulnerability crossing his features before he quickly averted his eyes once more. "Absolutely not," he replied hastily, his tone tinged with conviction. "I actually respect your dad. It's just, my..." His voice trailed off into an uneasy silence, leaving his sentence hanging in the air like a fragile thread. Sensing his hesitation, I knew that coaxing the truth out of him would require patience and understanding. Taking a deep breath, I placed a gentle hand on his arm, silently urging him to open up to me. Tom, if you're worried about something, I want to know. What's on your mind? I pressed gently, my voice laced with empathy and sincerity. And as he took a shaky breath, the floodgates of his emotions finally opened, revealing the hidden turmoil that had been festering beneath the surface. Tom took a deep breath, his face expressing both determination and a hint of anxiety. Yes, I'm sure, he reiterated, his voice stronger this time. Yvonne has brought a lot of happiness into my life, and I believe she'll bring joy to our family as well. Mr. Bennett here, he gestured towards my father, who gave a warm, encouraging nod, has been nothing but supportive of our decision. He's not just here as Yvonne's father, but as a testament to the kind of open, respectful family environment I've come to admire and hope to foster with Yvonne. My father then stepped forward, extending his hand in a gesture of goodwill which Tom's father, after a brief hesitation, accepted. It's a pleasure to meet you both, my father began, his tone friendly yet carrying an underlying firmness. I understand that you might have concerns about this union, particularly given the traditions and expectations you hold. But I assure you, Yvonne and Tom share a very special bond. They complement each other well, balance each other out, and most importantly, they respect and love each other deeply. Tom's mother, who had been silently observing the interaction, finally spoke up. We do want what's best for Thomas, naturally. It's just that we've always envisioned a certain path for him, and this, she paused, glancing at me with a scrutinizing look, is quite unexpected. I can understand that, I chimed in, trying to keep my voice steady despite the nerves. It must be surprising to see Tom making choices that are a bit different from what you expected. But I love your son very much, and I respect the family values you've instilled in him. That's actually something that drew me to him, his integrity and his respect for others, qualities that no doubt come from the upbringing you've provided. Tom took my hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. We're not asking for immediate approval, he said, looking between his parents. But we do ask for your blessing. We want to include you in our journey, not feel like we have to hide or fight against the people who should be our biggest supporters. The room fell silent for a moment as Tom's parents digested his words. His father, always the more stoic of the two, cleared his throat. This is a lot to take in, he admitted, but seeing you so united and hearing Mr. Bennett speak so highly of this partnership does give us a lot to think about. We love you, Thomas, and ultimately, we want you to be happy. Tom's mother nodded slowly, her expression softening. Yes, happiness is crucial. Perhaps we need to consider that what we want for you might not be what you want for yourself. As the conversation opened up, we all began to feel a shift in the air, a tentative bridge being built between our differing perspectives and hopes. Started making phone calls, his expression grim and determined. As I watched him, I could feel the weight of the situation settling in. The drive back was quiet. Tom sat beside me, his face a mask of regret and sadness. I'm so sorry, Yvonne, Tom whispered, his voice barely audible over the hum of the car. I had no idea they would react like that. It's unacceptable, and I can't even begin to express how embarrassed and horrified I am. It's not your fault, Tom, I replied, though my heart was heavy. The image of my father being so blatantly disrespected in what should have been a cordial family meeting was hard to shake off. But we need to think about what this means for us moving forward. I know you love your parents, but I can't have them treating my family like that. Tom nodded solemnly. I understand, and I agree. We need to set some boundaries with them. What happened today can't happen again, especially not to someone as important as your dad. When we arrived home, my dad was already on his second call, speaking in a low, stern voice. I couldn't catch all the words, but it was clear he was speaking to someone about the incident, possibly seeking advice or planning the next steps. His demeanor was one of controlled anger, a side of him I seldom saw. Tom and I went into the kitchen, where he began to make some coffee, the mundane task, a small attempt to inject some normalcy into the bizarre and distressing day we had endured. As we sat down with our cups, I took a deep breath, the aroma of the coffee slightly comforting. Tom, we need to discuss how we're going to handle your parents from now on. This can't just be swept under the rug, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I know, and you're right, Tom agreed, rubbing his forehead. I'll talk to them about the seriousness of their actions. I need them to understand that if they can't respect my choices, or the people I love, then they can't be a part of our lives as we build our future. It's going to be difficult, but it's necessary. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you standing by me and my father, I said, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. It was clear that the path ahead would be challenging, but necessary for our own peace and happiness. As we finished our coffee, my father came into the kitchen, his earlier calls apparently concluded. I've spoken with a few people, and I've got some advice on how to handle things legally if it comes to that, he said, more to himself than to us. He looked at us, his expression softening. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. Right now, I think you two need to focus on each other and decide what you really want moving forward. We will, Dad. And thank you for being here today, and for everything, I said, reaching out to squeeze his hand. Tom nodded in agreement, adding, yes, thank you, sir. I'm incredibly sorry for today, and I'll do whatever it takes to make things right. My dad nodded, accepting Tom's apology with a grave nod. Well, let's see how things go from here, he said. Then, looking between Tom and me, he added, just remember, whatever you decide, I'm here for you both. We'll get through this together. As the evening wore on, Tom and I discussed our plans, knowing that the road ahead would be tough, but also believing in the strength of our bond. Whatever the future held, we were determined to face it together, united not just by love, but by a shared resolve to uphold respect and integrity above all. Factories and establishing branches in different regions. It's become quite influential in the local market, largely due to my father's leadership and vision. Sitting there, absorbing the gravity of my father's words, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of awe and fear. The thought that he was ready to leverage his position to protect me and uphold our dignity was comforting, but also daunting. It showed how deeply the incident with Tom's parents had affected him. I understand, Dad, and I'm sorry it has come to this, I said softly, feeling the tension in the room. But are you sure this is the right way to handle it? There's a lot at stake, and it could escalate quickly. My father sighed, his expression somber. Yvonne, I've always taught you that respect and integrity are more important than any business deal or company reputation. What they did today was not just an insult to me personally, it was an affront to our family values. I cannot let that go unanswered. It's not just about revenge, it's about making a stand for our principles. Tom, who had been quietly listening, spoke up, his voice hesitant. Mr. Bennett, I respect your decision, and I can't apologize enough for my parents' actions. But please, let me try to resolve this with them first. Give me a chance to make things right without causing more conflict. I want to protect Yvonne from any more harm, and I don't want our families to be at war. My dad considered Tom's words carefully, then nodded slightly. Tom, I appreciate your willingness to handle this matter. You're right, we should try to solve this without further escalation. I'll hold off on any actions for now, but I expect a serious commitment to resolving this issue. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, grateful for Tom's intervention and my father's willingness to consider a less confrontational approach. Thank you, Dad. And thank you, Tom, for standing up, I said, feeling the tension begin to dissipate slightly. Tom nodded, his expression still troubled but relieved at my father's response. I won't let you down, Yvonne. I'll talk to them as soon as possible. As the evening wore on, we discussed various potential solutions and ways Tom could approach his parents to discuss the incident and its repercussions seriously. We all agreed that the goal was not just to resolve the conflict, but to ensure such disrespect would never occur again. The situation had brought Tom and me closer, cementing our commitment to each other. Despite the unfortunate circumstances, it highlighted the strength of our relationship and our ability to support one another through challenging times. As we planned our next steps, I felt a renewed sense of partnership and determination. We were in this together, and whatever challenges lay ahead, we were ready to face them united. Implementation and the expected financial impacts. Here's the breakdown of the initial investment needed versus the long-term savings. Additionally, by cross-training employees to handle multiple roles, we can enhance flexibility and reduce the need for overtime, which will further cut costs and boost morale. My father nodded thoughtfully, tapping his finger on the table. What about the marketing and sales departments? How do you plan to increase revenue to support these changes? Tom responded, we plan to revamp our marketing strategies, focusing more on digital platforms which are more cost-effective and have a broader reach. We also intend to explore new markets that we've previously overlooked. By diversifying our product lines, we can attract different segments of customers and not just rely on our traditional base. I noticed how Tom was meticulously addressing each concern, ensuring that he covered all aspects of the business operations. It was clear he had done his homework and understood the challenges he would face. Regarding the sales department, Tom continued, I'm proposing we retrain our sales staff to improve their skills in relationship management and customer service. Satisfied customers are more likely to return and recommend our products, which will drive up sales without necessarily increasing our advertising budget. My father leaned back, visibly impressed by Tom's thoroughness. And the staff that will be affected by the merging of departments? How do you plan to handle the potential dissatisfaction and the inevitable adjustments? We're considering implementing a comprehensive support system during the transition, Tom explained. This includes offering counseling services, training sessions to help employees adapt to new roles, and possibly even a temporary bonus system to reward those who excel in adapting to the changes. We believe that taking care of our employees' well-being is crucial for maintaining morale and productivity during such transitions. Listening to Tom, I felt a surge of pride and hope. He wasn't just thinking about the business side of things, but also about the people who would be impacted by these changes. My father finally spoke, his tone more relaxed yet still authoritative. Tom, your plan sounds solid, and I appreciate the thought and effort you've put into this. I'm willing to give you a chance to implement these changes. However, I will be closely monitoring the progress, and we will need to meet regularly to discuss updates and any adjustments needed. Tom nodded earnestly, thank you, Mr. Bennett. I assure you, I won't let you down. I'm committed to making this work not just for the company's sake, but for all the employees who depend on us. As they shook hands, a sense of relief washed over me. Tom's initiative and my father's willingness to trust him marked a new beginning. I knew there were challenging times ahead, but with Tom's dedication and my father's guidance, there was a real chance to turn things around and make a positive impact. Is taking over, but it's not for the reasons you think, Tom explained, his voice struggling to be heard over the course of discontent. The decision was made because of management issues that needed addressing, not because of any personal vendettas. I watched as Tom stood in front of the agitated crowd, his posture firm yet open, trying to convey honesty and transparency. The former employees, however, were in no mood to listen, their anger and frustration boiling over after losing their jobs. This isn't about blame or vengeance, Tom continued, raising his hands in a calming gesture. My father's company was struggling, and we're here to ensure that what remains can thrive under new management. We want to protect your jobs and create a more stable and profitable future for everyone involved. Despite Tom's efforts, the crowd's anger didn't subside immediately. Shouts continued to echo around us, with people expressing their fear and uncertainty about their futures. I felt a deep sympathy for them, understanding their pain, yet I was also frustrated by the misinformation and chaos caused by Tom's parents' actions. My father, who had remained silent until now, stepped forward. I understand your concerns, and I'm truly sorry for the distress this situation has caused, he said, his voice steady and commanding attention. But let me be clear, we are not the enemy. We are here to help rebuild and improve what has been failing. Our goal is to ensure job security for as many of you as possible and to steer this company back to success. As he spoke, some of the crowd began to quiet down, their expressions shifting from anger to curiosity. It was clear that my father's presence and his reputation as a successful business leader were beginning to have an effect. Furthermore, my father added, Tom has proposed, and we have agreed that he will work without salary to help stabilize the company. He, along with Yvonne, my daughter, who has also volunteered to assist, are committed to this cause because they believe in a fair and prosperous future for all of you. Turning to look at me, Tom's eyes conveyed a mixture of gratitude and resolve. Despite the harsh circumstances, it was clear he was determined to make things right, not just for us, but for everyone affected by the company's troubles. As the crowd began to disperse slowly, some still muttering but others nodding thoughtfully, it became apparent that the road ahead would be challenging yet potentially rewarding. We had taken the first step towards mending the situation, but much work remained. Later, as we drove away from the chaotic scene, Tom reached over and squeezed my hand. "Thank you for standing by me through this," he said quietly. "It means everything to me." I nodded, squeezing back. "We're in this together, no matter how tough it gets." As we headed back to our home, the weight of the day's events hung over us, yet there was a shared sense of purpose and a determination to overcome the obstacles ahead. With each other's support and a clear vision for the future, I felt hopeful that we could navigate this storm and emerge stronger on the other side. Tom finally turned away from them, his expression one of deep disappointment mixed with resolve. "You need to start taking responsibility for your own actions," he said sternly. "The situation you're in is the result of choices you made, not because of me or anyone else." As Tom walked back towards us, his parents' voices faded into the background, their complaints still echoing but no longer holding any sway over him. He joined me and my father, who had been quietly observing the exchange. "Thank you for your support," Tom said to my father, his voice tinged with exhaustion but also gratitude. "I know this wasn't easy, and I appreciate you standing by me, even when things got complicated." My father nodded, his gaze stern but understanding. "It's important that we handle this transition smoothly for everyone involved. The employees need stability, and it's our responsibility to provide that as much as we can." I felt a mix of emotions as I looked at Tom and my father discussing the next steps. Relief that the employees had some hope, sadness for the pain Tom's parents were enduring, even though they brought it upon themselves, and a renewed admiration for Tom's courage in facing such a difficult situation head-on. "We should start planning the integration process for the employees as soon as possible," my father suggested. "We'll need to assess each department's needs and see where we can merge them with our current operations without causing too much disruption." Tom agreed, his mind already shifting towards the future. "Yes, I'll prepare a detailed proposal for each department. We need to ensure that everyone feels valued and that their skills are utilized effectively." As the conversation continued, I felt a sense of pride in how Tom and my father were handling the situation. It was clear that despite the challenges, they were committed to doing right by the employees and ensuring the company not only recovered but thrived. Later, as we left Tom's parents' house, the weight of the day's events was palpable. Yet, there was also a feeling of cautious optimism. The road ahead would be tough, with many obstacles to overcome, but together, with careful planning and dedication, I believed we could make it through. Back at our own home, Tom and I sat down to discuss our personal plans amidst all the chaos. "Once we stabilize the company, we can focus on our future together," Tom said, squeezing my hand. "I know we've had to postpone our plans, but I promise it will be worth the wait." I nodded, feeling reassured by his words. Despite the unexpected turns our lives had taken, our commitment to each other remained unshaken. Together, we would navigate whatever came our way, building not just a future for ourselves, but also for those who depended on us. "Ask about you both when you're not around," my father continued, his eyes twinkling with pride. "You've become integral to the team's morale and productivity. Everyone here appreciates your efforts and the spirit you brought into this workplace." Tom and I exchanged a look, a mixture of surprise and relief washing over us. "We just wanted to do our part and make sure we contributed to the company's recovery," Tom said, his voice filled with humble sincerity. "We didn't expect anything in return, especially not this." My father chuckled, a deep, hearty sound that filled the room. "Well, that's exactly why you deserve this. You didn't come here with expectations, you came here with a commitment. That's what makes the difference. That's leadership. Taking the envelopes, I felt a surge of emotions. It was not just about the money, but the recognition and trust we had earned from my father and the rest of the team. It reinforced our decision to leave our previous jobs and join the company at a time of crisis. It felt right, and now, it also felt rewarding. "We'll continue to work hard, Dad," I assured him, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "And we'll help ensure the company not only recovers fully, but grows even stronger than before." My father nodded approvingly. "I know you will. And remember, this isn't just a business. It's a community. We look after each other here, and that's what leads to success." As we left his office, Tom squeezed my hand tightly. "Looks like we made the right choice," he murmured. "It's not just about rebuilding the company, it's about building a future together, here." I nodded, feeling immensely grateful for how things were turning out. Despite the initial hardships and the dramatic changes in our lives, we were now part of something meaningful. The challenges had brought us closer and strengthened our bond, not just as a couple, but also with my father and the entire team at the company. As we walked back to our desks, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. It had been filled with unexpected twists and turns, but each step had led us to this moment of quiet satisfaction and optimism. The gratitude expressed by the former employee earlier, the acknowledgement from my father, and the sense of belonging we felt here, it all added up to a profound feeling of being exactly where we needed to be. Determined to keep pushing forward, we knew there was a lot more work ahead. But for the first time in a long while, the future looked bright, and we were ready to meet it head-on, together. As the date of my maternity leave approached, the atmosphere in the office was filled with a mix of anticipation and excitement. Everyone seemed genuinely happy for us, often stopping by my desk with well wishes or small gifts for the baby. It was touching to see how our personal joy had become a shared celebration within the company. Tom, meanwhile, was as dedicated as ever, but he made sure to balance his workload so he could spend more time with me as we prepared for the baby's arrival. He took an active interest in everything, from attending prenatal classes with me to setting up the nursery at home. His deep involvement made this special time in our lives even more meaningful. One afternoon, as we sat in my father's office discussing Tom's latest project proposals, my father looked at us with a fond smile. "I must say, watching you two work together and now starting a family, it's more than I could have hoped for when I first asked Tom if he would marry you. You've not only strengthened our company, but our family as well." His words made us both emotional. It was one thing to work hard and contribute to the business's success, but to hear how profoundly we had impacted the personal lives associated with the business was overwhelming. Tom squeezed my hand under the table, a silent acknowledgement of our shared journey. "We've got a great team here, and with the new changes I've proposed, I believe the company will continue to thrive even while we're away on leave," he reassured my father. My father nodded, visibly pleased with Tom's commitment. "I have no doubt about that, Tom. And while you're both on leave, I'll oversee the operations directly. Don't worry about the business, just focus on your new family." As my leave started, I stepped away from my daily responsibilities but remained involved in strategic discussions. It was hard to let go, even temporarily, but I knew the company was in capable hands. Plus, this break was essential for me to focus on our upcoming life change, becoming parents. The weeks flew by, and soon, our little one arrived, bringing indescribable joy and a new kind of busyness into our lives. Despite the sleepless nights and the steep learning curve of parenthood, we found immense happiness in our new roles. Tom was a fantastic father, and watching him with our child only deepened my love for him. During my leave, I received regular updates from my father and our team. The initiatives that Tom had put in place before my leave were bearing fruit, and the company's performance metrics had continued to improve. This news was comforting and allowed me to enjoy my maternity leave without stress or worry. Eventually, the time came for me to return to work. As I stepped back into the office for the first time in months, I was greeted with warm welcomes and eager updates. It felt good to be back, to reconnect with my colleagues, and to start contributing again. Tom and I resumed our work with renewed vigor and fresh perspectives influenced by our new roles as parents. We continued to drive improvements and innovations, ensuring that our work environment not only supported our careers but also our growing family. This balance made our professional and personal lives deeply fulfilling, reinforcing our belief that finding purpose in work is truly enriching, especially when shared with